Good morning. Today we're starting in Aleph, Ois Aleph, the last piece in Ois Aleph. Oinus. Oinus means somebody who's has a circumstance that's beyond his control. Today is Lu Neshmas Chava Bas Yaakov, and it's also in honor of my dear Chava, Reb Chaim Simcha Kohen Miller. Besides for Chaim always giving me valuable input to the shir every day, and a dedicated listener to this shir, he's also somebody who's my Rebbe and what it means to be a Baal Achrayus. Something that I learn from him every day, what it means to go beyond and don't feel like the circumstance is going to dictate what you do in your life. I mean, you could always claim Einus. The Pele Yoetz is starting with Einus, and he says, Amar HaChacham, the smart person says, Kol toyeh zeh lemitam Einus rachmana patre. He doesn't want to claim that it's because the Torah says that you're protected if you don't do a mitzvah or if you don't get to a mitzvah because you are under circumstances beyond your control, then you're not chayev. But we know that Hashem protects those that try their hardest, and therefore, even though there is always an einus, I'm in the hotel industry, and in every contract there's something called a force majeure. There's a clause in the contract that if the customer, for some reason, there's an earthquake, or there's a war, or there's an act of God, then you are not mechuyev to pay that bill. Meaning that bill that's the way the customer can get out of the bill is for something that's beyond your control. But we've had to cancel many contracts, and this never was used until we got to COVID. Once we got to COVID, then the whole force majeure changed. That whole clause had to be rewritten, and sometimes, let's say in the winter, we'll do a force majeure for snow, for a blizzard. But COVID brought something new to the table. That means that you're hurting other people. If you come to davening when you're sick and you're catchy and you're contagious, so then you're hurting other people. So that becomes a new type of einus that we didn't have, so that's a real einus that somebody could think of. But there's so many other einsim that we could think of, such as my daughter is in high school. She always asks me, could you write me a note that I was late, or I woke up late for this reason, I had something the night before, or I want to miss school for this reason. Is that really an einus? Is that something that's an einus? Ari asked me not to mention any more about flat tires, but a flat tire is a real einus. Somebody who sleeps in late. So the Pele Yoetz mentions that somebody could always say, I was weak, I wasn't feeling good, I had a headache. There's many different things. Somebody gets drunk and he does something rash. Is that an einus? There's some attorneys on this chat. If somebody does that, there was somebody in France who got high and he pushed a lady off a roof or something, and he was tining. I was on substance, so I don't have to be mechuyev for what I did. I don't have to have an achrayus for what I did. Or do you always have to have an achrayus for everything you do? Adam muad la'olam, a person is always liable, whether he's up or whether he's sleeping. And somebody who's sleeping is mechuyev. If you miss something while you're sleeping, then that is not an einus. So the Pele Yoetz goes on to say, Ki be'ila kol dehu matzah makam p'tur. A person has many different reasons that he comes up with, and he says, I'm busy with business, so therefore I didn't learn Torah, or I'm busy with business, therefore I didn't do the mitzvah that I was supposed to do. I have pain, I'm weak, I'm sick. Or he says the Yetzer Hara is too strong for me. I couldn't overcome the Yetzer Hara. All these things, he says, are things that we're going to have to answer in Olam Haba for. And the way to differentiate, he says, between something that's an einus and something that's an achrayus, something that we really have to do, each person has different levels of where they know themselves. I could push myself a little more. Each person has to measure what they can do a little more and what they can push themselves to a place where this is where I can do, this is my koiches, I could do a little bit higher. And he says you can have a test with yourself every Rosh Hashiva gives an example of a flight the next morning and you would get up. There's a story of Chaim that somebody didn't get up in the morning for his flight, and he said, it's Baruch Hashem that you didn't get up your flight, because now it would pater all those times that you didn't get up on time for davening. But more than that, if a person realizes, Rabbi Chaim Abadi, he 3 o'clock in the morning, he would get up to do something for somebody because he realized the great reward for it. If we realize the great reward for the things that we do, in Tevakshenu Kakesef, he ends off, if we seek it like money, so whatever amount of money, he says, whatever amount of money that is, if it's $10,000 for you, so that's $10,000. For you, $100,000, $100,000. Some people it's $100. If I told my daughter that if she made on time to school every single day, she got on the bus every single day for 2 months, then she would get $100 or a trip, then maybe for her that would work. It means each person has to know what does that mean. If I have a headache, I could take Tylenol and I can continue on. Or if I would have a business deal, would I be able to do that? He ends off with a pasuk in Megillah that a person has a Torah. Torah is more important than all the money in the world, and a person has to realize that he shouldn't miss his morning in Kailo. This morning I got up for Kailo, and I was about to leave at 6:29, and all of a sudden I realized I don't have my keys, and somebody else took my keys and they were lost. A person has to realize, is that an einus? Is that not an einus? Each thing is done for that thing. Now, I just want to end off that the Gemara says about Hillel, that Hillel was, when we come to Shemayim, they'll say, did you want to learn as bad as Hillel Azakim? He went on top of the roof, and he didn't have money for his tuition, and he went on top of the yeshiva roof, and he sat by the skylight in the winter time, and he got full of snow, and he decided he's going to learn anyways, even though he couldn't afford it, and he couldn't get in, but and in those excruciating circumstances, he still learned Torah. And therefore, I was dedicating this whole shir to Chaim. I see him every night by night seder. Even though you have a hard day at work, you come to night seder, you push yourself through to do the next thing, and that's the only way to grow in life, is when we push ourselves to do something that we're not comfortable, to get out of our comfort zone. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.